What I will say though is, right now in the market, should people buy? What's your take on this?
It's never should you buy or should you wait. It's not like stocks. It's can you? Is there something that makes sense to buy? There is way less that makes sense to buy than there was 10 years ago, right? So the way I look at it, you're familiar with counting cards and you're playing blackjack, how that works. You see, somewhat. You don't know what the next card's going to be, but you know the odds of it being a card that is favorable to you is better or worse depending on how you've been counting them. The real estate market's like that. There's not going to be as many deals out there. You're going to work a lot harder to find something that will work. You're not going to get a return on your labor. Doesn't mean don't invest. It means temper your expectations. And if you have other options where you can put that time and energy and labor, this is a market where I would pursue people to start a business, provide a service, learn different skills. You don't have to go all in on real estate investing in every single market.
Right.
But that is what you'll hear on YouTube and Instagram. Like, it's been flooded with these gurus that are all selling courses that are all telling you how they have the secret sauce that if you just use their strategy, you can buy in this market. And you rarely ever hear that working out. So I wouldn't tell people don't buy, but I would say if you have other opportunities, you're better off putting that energy into those things than you are just full-time investing.
Understood.
So it's been a bit since we last had you on. Obviously, the real estate market is always constantly changing. Right now, it's September, last quarter of the year. What would you say? Where can you give us kind of like a bird's eye view of the real estate market right now? What your predictions are? What do you see? What you to predict?
We have a supply problem.
Okay.
There is not enough housing, and that doesn't appear to change or be changing anytime soon, because it takes so long to build a house and it's so expensive to build a house. The regulation in most municipalities is wild. It's horrible. Cities don't make it easy to build houses. They don't make it easy to add units. So you're going to have a supply problem for a long time. At the same time, it's very hard for investors to find a deal that's going to produce more income than what it costs to own it. So the real estate investor is kind of getting pushed out of the market because the supply is so low and the demand is so high. You almost have to get those to flip before prices come down. It's hard to see a world that we're going to have less demand than we have supply in real estate outside of a major recession. Like, we'd have to go into a depression. And then everybody who's been saying, I'm waiting for prices to crash, you're not going to buy during a depression. Nobody is. As your tenant be able to pay rent, like, it's a scary scenario. So the overall market has a problem where the government printed way too much money.
Yeah.
They increased our money supply like nuts, which is why we have inflation, which I was warning about like during COVID. 3 years ago, I was telling everybody, you're going to see wild inflation. You kind of have to buy real estate right now. It's hitting us at this point. And that inflation that printing of money created a need for that money to go somewhere. So venture capitalists did really well, the stock market did really well, and real estate did really well because that's where the money goes. Now we have a problem where there's so much money that has to find a home, and real estate's one of the best places to stick it, that it's not just someone like you or me competing to buy these houses. You got BlackRock, you have huge funds that are scooping up rental properties that we used to tell that initial like first buyer, buy that triplex, buy that fourplex. You're competing with people that borrow money at a cheaper rate than you. You're competing with people that have resources that you don't have. I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to have a big problem with the supply of real estate.
Damn.
Something that Kamala Harris has been campaigning on is she keeps saying that they're going to build 3 million homes. And I think to myself, that sounds great to like the average American, right? That thinks 3 million homes, yeah, this is awesome. But in my head, I'm like, well, it's expensive to build a home. It's difficult to build a home. We have a shortage. Like, we're already, 5 million a home shortage right now. How are they going to build another 3 million? And in my head, I'm like, contractors that have the ability to build a home, why are they going to sit there and build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath when they can just go ahead and get involved in a commercial property that's going to make them way more money, right? Because I've seen in Texas, there was a bunch of projects where they were building these homes and they kind of abandoned it because they're like, this doesn't make sense for us anymore. It's not making money. I mean, I see them abandoning projects right now in Miami with commercial real estate. So if they're abandoning commercial deals with building, why the hell would they waste their time building 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes? And I mean, I find it interesting that Kamala's campaigning on this because in my head it's like, you're not going to be able to do that in the 4 years that you're in if we're already 5 million short. I mean, what's your thoughts on that when you hear her make these crazy promises like that?
If she had said, and this is how we're going to do it, and gave a plan that made logical sense, I might have been on board. But like, anybody could say if we could build 3 million homes or 4 million homes, we'd already be building these houses. They would be coming up
she said that,
as it is.
My real estate spidey senses were like, this is impossible. You can't do this. But I think but it's amazing to me how she can promise this to the general American public and they believe it. Like,
yes,
there's no way, like, from a practical sense, that you'll be able to actually accomplish this.
You seen that?
Do you know
Sorry,
how, do you know how hard it is to find a human being that will go repair your drywall or fix your plumbing or do your tile work right now? Like nobody under 25, 30 years old has any desire to learn manual labor. They all want to be an internet influencer, a Twitch streamer. Yeah,
So
they
true.
want some kind of like local star power where they're a big shot in that little world. Nobody is learning how to do the work that you would need to do to build these houses. It used to be when you needed manual labor, it was like some immigrant that didn't have other options. They couldn't speak English that well. If you found one that was trustworthy, you keep feeding them, they'd be very appreciative, and it was at a low rate. You pay extra for manual labor right now. Like it is way cheaper to get technology stuff done. I don't know who's going to build the houses. That's what I'm getting at. The labor's incredibly expensive. The materials are incredibly expensive.
Ever since the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the price of lumber and all these other supplies have went up. I mean, that's the problem with conflict, is that it increases the price of everything else, not just food or whatever.
Because it diminishes supply. There is not as much of it to be sending out, and so it's more expensive now. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No. That's exactly what I was getting at, is that, you know, conflict creates issues that, you know, have a domino effect on other industries, right? So, but I just found it interesting how she said that we have this, we're going to build 3 million homes, and I'm like, you didn't do it under Biden. What makes you? How are you going to do it? Like, what's your plan to actually get this done? Like, how are you going to pay the contractors enough for them to warrant them doing it when I see that they're not even completing projects here in Miami? And I do want to say this. I want to get your take on it. I've noticed that the rent market here in Florida, Miami especially, has kind of like stabilized. Like, you can't really, you know, we're getting to a point where we're almost having oversupply. Are you noticing that in your real estate markets as well, or in different cities?
It's happening, and they're calling it a correction in the cities that had rampant building.
Yes.
Austin, Texas, Las Vegas, Nevada. Miami was like, I think it was probably the hottest market I've ever seen in my life.
It was crazy, dude.
Of everything, right? I went and bought in Fort Lauderdale and Pompano Beach and Hollywood because I could see you're going to have what we call it the path of progress. You're going to have the overflow of people that want to buy in this area that can't afford Miami, so where do they go? They start going a little bit north, right?
Absolutely.
So I got in before some of those things happen. You are seeing a massive correction, but I don't see prices plummeting. They're kind of adjusting to where they should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not enough people moving into those areas to continue to support what was being built. But it was mostly apartment complexes and condos. They weren't building a lot of single family houses in these areas.
Yep.
That show's Selling Sunset. Have you seen it recently?
No, but I know about it. Yeah,
so there was a
make fun of
project
it all the
that
time.
these
It's
builders
funny
were
you
working
bringing
on.
that up.
I know. And they spent so much money into this property and the time spent into it that they're trying to get a return on investment, right? But what's happening is nobody wanted to buy it. And they put so much money into it and labor that they're upside down. And it's like, that's happening all over, the States. And I'm like, how do you maneuver with getting properties now that are actually any value? Because I feel like nowadays, what you're going to buy is going to be overpriced. Because they're trying to recoup what they spent on the property itself.
Well, they can't. The market's going to tell you what your house is worth. You could try to recoup it. It just sits there and nobody buys it until you eventually lower the price. Just like the example we were given about the girl that didn't want to get married when she had a bunch of buyers that were interested. And now she's going to have to lower her expectations for what the market's going to provide. And it's typically in the high end where you see this kind of stuff happening, but that's where the big wins are when the economy's doing well. When the government jacked up interest rates on us, like really fast and quickly, it screwed up a ton in real estate. It screwed up people that own commercial properties' ability to refinance them because those are not on 30-year fixed rate notes.
Yeah.
You go buy a commercial property, you have to refi every 3 to 5 years usually. Well, if you bought it at a 3% interest rate and you got a refi at a 7.5%, it's the debt service won't cover what that loan is, right? And you could have bought it at a great price and it's cash flowing amazing, but you're forced to refi or go to foreclosure, and you can't. That's
it's like 7-year loans a lot of times with these commercial deals, right?
7 is a longer one. You're smart if you get 7, but where rates are today, they're like more than double what they were when people bought. And similar for residential properties, when they raise rates super fast like that, they made housing less affordable. People have just said, I'm not buying at all.
Yeah.
So some of these markets that we're talking about where all this building was going on, where people were moving to, there's not as many people that want to buy, and those people are losing their jobs. I don't know why more people aren't talking, man. Every week I get messages from people that just got fired.
But you know what's crazy? Just out to your point. So the projects that people are building here in Miami, right? They can't maintain it any longer. So you know who's buying them now? BlackRock.
Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier.
All of them up. I'm like, dude, that's smart as fuck.
People told BlackRock they were stupid when they were buying in 2013 and 20. They all said BlackRock overpaid. Those properties are worth more than double what BlackRock paid for them. Damn. When they overpaid. Because BlackRock understands what I said earlier. The government is destroying our money supply by just making so much of it. Inflation has to happen. When inflation happens, it affects real estate more than everything else. So here's an example. If you take a $500,000 house and inflation is going to make it double in price in 7 years instead of 30 or something like it should have, right? That's 2x the 500,000. But you probably only put $100,000 down to buy it. So the $500,000 of equity you just got comes out of a $100,000 investment. That's a 500% return.
5x.
Yeah, when you're buying real estate, that's exactly right.
Yep.
You don't have like your stocks can't do that because you can't really leverage money to buy stocks the same way that you can in real estate. And BlackRock gets this. They also can borrow money cheaper than the average person can. They can borrow tons amount of money from
Why
insurance
is that?
companies.
Wait a minute. Who owns BlackRock?
Larry Fink.
When you can spend that much money, you can get it at a lower rate.
Yeah.
They can borrow money at 1%, 2%, 3%. We go to get that same mortgage, we're at 7.5%.
yeah.
So how do we compete?
Maybe 6 if we live in it.
And the scary
If we're
thing
lucky.
too, that inventory is now off the market probably forever,
Yeah.
right?
Because they're
So-
not going to sell it.
They ain't selling.
Not, they could, they're not going to. So what happens is not only are we not building enough homes, not only do we have more people moving into the country than we have supply for, now the bottom tier, the cheapest stuff, the starter home that you used to be able to get into is being sucked up by these hedge funds. And it's like, I don't know, there's no game in the forest. Everyone's starting to starve when it looks like where they're going to put their money, expecting a housing crash that I don't think is coming.
Yeah. And you know, everyone that keeps saying that there's going to be a housing crash, I always laugh at them because I'm like, how? There's 5 million. We have a 5 million home plus shortage. Like, it's impossible. You can't have a crash if you have low supply. And a word from our sponsor real quick. Go ahead, Mo. Take it away.